What Righties can do. Prologue. The right defined. It has been some time since the Distributist made a video on an article by David Z. Hines titled Radical Book Club: What Righties Can Do. It is not surprising that if you are part of a group that has been losing for decades, the tactic of the opponents that have been winning seems rather seductive. Yet the question regarding the tactics is not usually the question that is made out to be. If it is true that the efficacy of the tactic is dependent on the personalities of the people employing it and the personalities of the people being affected by it, and if it is also true that the personalities of the people on the right and the left are different, it follows that some skepticism regarding the usability of the tactics of the opposite political sphere is warranted. Yet, there is some merit to try to understand what has given the left the victory it has desired in the civilization that has largely been raised from the rubble under the principles that were further to the right. In this multi-part series, we will try to look at the article by David, try to analyze and understand it, and try to propose some alternate ideas and tactics that the right can use to embark on its journey to some sort of cultural, societal, and political victory. But to do that, we have to first understand simply a proposition, a proposition about the nature of the right. The proposition being, in a very crude sense, of right being that side of the political sphere that argues for some sort of an eternal order. The terms eternal and order are both important, for it is the case with even other political philosophies that there be either some form of order or some form of an eternally rather utopian existing chaos. Granting this, a very standard view of the right that has emerged that distinguishes itself and its justification from those of the left is a view about the cyclical nature of history. The right has to reject the progressive view of the history if it accepts that such a view might be in any form reasonable exclusively, then the right validates the left more than it validates itself. For In the very view of progressivism, it is entailed that humans do not have any capacity for an eternal order, for even such order can be perfected to a greater extent in due course of time. Yet, in the cyclical view, while no utopian society can exist indefinitely, which seems to be true from the observation also, there is a rather point in the cycle which people on the right can identify as being the highest point in that limited history of the civilization until the next cycle. Thus, understanding the very cyclical nature of the society, one is led to believe that even if all the propositions and the assertions of this article hold out to be true, and nothing but true, even then the right is unable to win in any case except by help of divine providence, any sort of victory, for such is not written in the fate of the right and the people. If it was possible that the right won before the time of its winning arrived, it could be possible to hold that position indefinitely, but such could never be the case if assumptions of the right are correct, and hence, in such situations, the only thing that the right will be able to do is to lay groundwork to make the path to the new civilization easier. As we begin to discuss the different parts of this article, we have to keep in mind the assumptions about the right discussed, because one must never forget that in order for any tactic to be compatible to an ideology, it must have a justification from that ideology.